Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to When Pigs Fly. I'm Patty. I am joined by Tracy and Renee. Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
Okay, so first we want to welcome all of our new subscribers. Keep the comments coming, and we are going to dedicate actually the first part of this episode to some of the questions that you had. So keep them coming because remember, a question that you may feel is just personal to you actually is helping so many people in our community because we're all going through this together. We're all having a different experience, and so remember to take what resonates with you and then throw the rest out. And that's the key because sometimes there might be a little thread in there that rings true with you. And that's what you hold on to. And you'll see that we're all building this puzzle together and none of us knows what it really looks like. So, again, a warm welcome to all of you. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with those whom you think is appropriate to share with. Okay. So, today, we're going to start with I guess we would call spiritual awakening buzzwords, for lack of a better label. And someone reached out and asked about holding space. What does it mean to hold space? So I think, Renee, why don't you tell us what you see? Because Renee's got some cool visions. So I would love your take on what do you see and what does that mean to you to hold space?
Okay, so when what I see from an energetic, like when I say, okay, I'm just going to hold space for you, I actually get into this energetic field. I call in I just say, oh, okay, powers of be, come here and just bring me into a neutral space. I'm usually pretty neutral anyway, but I always want to make sure because if somebody's going to say something and it might trigger me, because I'm here, human form, still working on stuff just like everybody else. I don't have all my shit together. So it's that piece. So I'm always like, okay, let's go into neutrality. And what I see from an energetic point is there'll be this energy that I refer to as love, that I'm always like, okay, I'm in this place of love and la la la, because it means something different to me than it could be for somebody else. And the energy itself, it's like that sort of the energy sort of gets this whitewash because it looks like this mother of pearl energy, like just, comes down, and everything that my perception of this love is that I'm holding gets sort of washed out. And then I feel this, I don't even know how to explain it. I think it's just a nothing, a nothingness. Like it's so somebody can say anything they want, and there's really no response from my physical form. It's just a means of, oh, okay, I can totally get what you're saying. I totally like it's interesting because even the brain, like they're showing right now. First of all, we all have these grids. Okay, so the energy to this whole thing of going to neutrality has its own grid. Okay, and the line's going down inside. That's how I see it. But they say even the brain. They're saying even the brain comes down and it gets this whitewash over it that is saying, listen, you're holding this space. You're just in a place of nothing. This person needs to be heard. And if you need to say something, we'll bring it through you. And when I'm saying I'm talking about your higher self, your soul, this, spirit guides, God, whatever you want to call that. But it's coming through in a true place of nothingness. You're not judging. You're not even really bringing in anything of your own. You're not going to say, oh, well, I went through blah, blah, because that again is okay. Now you're nullifying what they are. So I'm hoping this is
Yeah.
explaining that. So that energetic space, when I'm holding space, it's like, listen, tell me anything. I'm not judging. I'm not going to say anything to you. And if I have nothing to say at all, that's going to be okay, because then clearly you just need to be heard. Because I feel like a lot of times when people are saying things, they just want to be heard. They just want that whole aspect to be heard by somebody who's not going to respond, who's not going to say anything, or who's just going to say, I get it. I feel it. Because when somebody's talking to you, that energy is coming at you. But when you're holding space, so you're in that place of neutrality, that energy just goes in, it gets also whitewashed itself.
Yeah.
That's being washed over. So, don't ever think like, oh, it's coming into me, I'm taking it on. If you want to take it on, you would think that, but
Yeah.
you don't, because I've had a lot of clients in the
Yeah.
past say, why took on their stuff? Why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And what really the truth is, when you look at that, it's really what they were saying triggered your stuff to come up and get out because you both were releasing something,
Hmm.
but people don't see it that way. Like, oh my God, I took on their
Yeah.
stuff. Now what do I do? And they go down that rabbit hole.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
it's crazy. And I feel like Tracy, you're really good because especially in the restaurants and all that, you're really good at holding space. So I'd be very interested to see what your version of that is.
Yeah, so I love a few things that you said, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to start noticing the same words being said by channels or people that speak about energy, which is super exciting to me because it's so much more prevalent. Because Renee, you said whitewash, and I have been seeing that and using that word a lot, which is kind of a unique word to be saying. And I've also noticed that we are kind of moving through some phases and levels of purging. And what I noticed was there's this deep purge that a lot of people are in that, and this is going to loop back around, that that's when you get all these aches and pains and you get all these emotional triggers. You're really purging at a very deep level. Because, and I did this, so I'm telling you what I've experienced. And then I moved into more of a cleansing phase of it's still a purge, but it's lighter and it's not as intense and as deep, but we're still cleansing and cleaning. And then recently I have been shown it's this more of a purifying phase, which is awesome to be in. And it's still a release and a letting go, but it's this new energy, which is very available right now of this purification energy. So saying that, I do hold space now for a lot of people, and I'm so grateful to have access to this purifying energy because I pull that in. And I want to say we're all saying basically the same thing in different ways. That purifying energy, it's pure love. It is neutrality, and in neutrality and nothingness is space for everything. So a lot of ways to say the same thing. And what I have noticed is a lot of people, they just need to be heard, like Renee said. And I will start a conversation and they derail and they start talking about something completely different. And I've caught myself, I don't stop them and say, that's not what I'm talking about. I go, okay, yep. And I just sit there and listen. And a lot of times it's so beautiful and amazing that they will talk themselves into a full circle. I do nothing.
Yeah.
And I just hold the space. And it's amazing. And I don't even know if they're realizing they're doing it. And I'm just in my head going, beautiful. And I don't even have to spell it out to them. Like, did you see what you just did? It's just a lot of the amount of people that I have actually made cry or have come crying to me have come up to me with these huge bear hugs, or I've hugged them. Is I woke up in the middle of the night with my higher self going, do you realize all of this has been happening? And I was like, oh my gosh, no, I kind of didn't. What is that? What's going on? And it's this conversation. So it's so amazing. And a little bit of therein, if you are the one that is having aches and pains that just needs to cry, there's so many people that are holding this beautiful space, or dare I say, attempt to hold it for yourself, because it's awesome.
Yeah. So well said, Tracy. That it's funny that you said that. I had a experience very recently last week, and I was actually with a client having lunch, and I noticed that our server, I was like, because I'm sensitive to energy, and I thought, oh, she's she was felt very frenzied. And so we gave her our order and I sat there and I said to my client, I said, and she was like getting charged up. And I said, no, no, no. I said, this is going to be fine. And I said to her, I said, she just needs us to hold space. Let's just sit here for a minute. And every time she came back, she was more and more calm. And the way that this was shown to me was for me to get to that like 0 point, essentially, right? Of exactly what you're describing, neutrality, and that we all have the power to mirror the other person's soul. And our soul is pure love and pure calmness and pure. So For me, it's like I literally sit there and visualize. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me get that mirror, the big soul mirror out, because that's what she needs right now. And when we were going to leave the restaurant, she came and tapped me and she said, "Oh, did you get your credit card receipt?" And we said, "Yeah, we checked no receipt. It's okay." And she said, "I think I just wanted to talk to you one more time." And she like grabbed me and hugged me. And I was like, "Oh, we're coming back. We will be back." But it was so beautiful because literally we all have this ability. And again, I didn't speak to her and say, "What's wrong?" Right? Or you don't. And she was when she arrived at the table, there was all kinds of stuff going on. And I just thought, no, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity. So it's really us recognizing that. And it's so beautiful that all you need to do, and Tracy, you're absolutely right. I have witnessed that where they go, "Woo," and they will come around in a circle. This is the power we're talking about. I'm so glad we're having this discussion because so energetically, when you look at it, it's really cool because we're a magnet. We're a magnet. And so what are we? This is what we're talking about. We're all in this together. What are we radiating out? And we do have the ability to calm other people and bring them back around and pull out rather than like Renee said, it's a choice when you entangle in someone's energy. If someone's fired up and you go there with them, that's a choice. You're stepping out of your power. And so, yeah, and I'm sure that we'll talk more about in future episodes, we can talk about different ways because it does take work though, to get yourself to the point of recognizing, oh, okay, I'm going to call in. And remember, we can always call in love, you know, and your guides, call your guides in and say, help me be in alignment, help me get to 0 point here. And what happens is you notice pretty quickly too if you're not in it yourself. So it's a, you know, great practice for anyone, and
Yeah.
you can't mess it up. Just try it. Um, so
Wait,
anything
can I
else
just
to
say
add there?
something
Yeah.
about the magnet? Because you
Yeah.
had said that, and when you said that, Patty, the healer said, "Oh, do you guys all realize the different magnets that are coming to us?" Because and all of our listeners, like, pay attention to this. Pay attention because the old way, the 3D way was, "Oh my God, I'm magnetizing this to me because this is who and what I am." And Patty, you said it perfectly. You're magnetizing now people that your soul knows, listen, this person needs this and I have it to give. Because and now when I say I have it to give, I don't mean that, everybody you're not giving up your energy. First, let's be very clear about that. When you're seeing you're holding the space, you're like, okay, look, I'm just bringing in calm, or I'm bringing in whatever that person needs. And that's the space I'm going to hold. The minute you say or think that, that's what happens. So don't get in your head and thinking it's like this whole big thing. But what a lot of healers and a lot of people in the world now that are aware of this and are making these shifts and changes, what is now happening is we are magnetizing to us those people that need to get themselves into that space. So it's really important. We're being now invited, which is really interesting because, we've been kicked off that ledge and they're going, go ahead, look and see, you can fly. So it's interesting that they're saying now invited because they weren't before. They're like, look at people, get your shit
Yeah.
together. Here it is. Well, now we're being invited to hold space, to hold that space of neutrality
Mhm.
for all that is going on, because they're saying a lot of stuff, as I'm sure many of us know, a lot of crazy's happening in the world. And that totally was the judgment for me when I said a lot of crazy. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world because things are breaking down.
Yeah.
We all have to hold space. That's why they're saying, stop going globally, come locally.
Yeah.
Hold that space for this local aspect of you and in what you're doing, because we are now being invited and asked to please hold this space of neutrality so that these people can wake up to their true soul, their soul's purpose, and all that is happening in what they're referring to as in love and in light, which is really meaning in peace and in calm. So that's a whole different magnet coming around from what we've all known as magnets, because people go, oh, well, you're magnetizing that, what, there's something in you.
Mm.
Well, not necessarily, because you've raised your vibration right to that point, and now you're being invited from your soul to say, hold the space for this person so they too can come into this. And that's magnifying around the world.
Yeah. So cool.
I
So
know.
cool. Wow. Yeah. And like, and it's true. It's like, and you can call in, like for me, like I knew this person needed calm. And so you give it to you only give it to yourself. When you give it to yourself and you're radiating it out. So yeah, very important. You're not giving away your power. You're
Right.
radiating it, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. So wow, that's cool that and again, this is why we're getting this ties back into the energy, like the energy reports we're doing. We are awakening now to higher and higher levels of consciousness and really new superpowers that we didn't have access to before. And this is a prime example of one. So
Tracy, what
fun.
were you going to say?
A couple things. And again, I want to keep reiterating that we're all going to say things a little different, but we're saying the same thing, which also encourages you to see it your way and say it your way. Because Patty, I'm going to go back to your mirror of reflecting their soul. I love that. And how I see it is when I am in the zone of looking at a person, you know, especially if I'm working on someone, I always call in the truest, purest, wholest version of them. And that's what I work with and from. So we're kind of saying the same thing is I'm really intentionally, but probably subconsciously trying to view everyone as their true self, their whole self, you know, the divine blueprint. We can say so many words. What you said is the mirror of the soul. So once you intend to do that, your whole awareness of how you're going through life changes, which is what we're all talking about. So I'm just saying it another way. And things just happen because that's your new lens that you're walking through life with. And in that, there is a lot of different variables that can come your way. I'm not going to say that it's all going to be peachy keen and oh, I see you in your truest, version. What are you doing saying something that, doesn't align with that? But that's the holding space element that we're all speaking to. Even if you're actioning and your words are a little different, you're still holding that space in the background of your highest self and their highest self. So that's a lot to kind of wrap your head around, but I want to bring it back in.
So, know what dropped into me as you were saying that? Here's a great example of what you were just saying too. Emotional support animals, our pets. Our pets hold a space of love. Domestic animals are all in the energy, they're already in the energy of love. And so anybody who has a pet that you can go, oh, what do you do when you're having a rough day? You're like, let's snuggle with Boo Boo here. But animals carry that energy of love. And so it's right. Essentially what we're saying is get yourself into that energy and you have to see all souls, regardless. Like you have to get rid of judgment. That's the key. This must be done without judgment and just see the soul. Tracy just shared a beautiful story with us when we did our sidebar about this, where she saw the beauty in not one, but two different souls who were in different parts of their journey. Right. And so she held that space and then got to witness when you get to that point where you're holding the space, you get to witness that love being exchanged too, which is real. I just got chills just talking about that. So
Yeah, me too.
really
Me too.
cool.
Exactly. And I want to just touch on the energy grids because I know we got a question on it, and I answered it in one of the podcasts. But the energy grids seem to, and I know Tracy, I want your take too because I know you've worked with the grids for a long time as well. But what I see when I see the grids, there's a grid to everything they said. So if you're in a space or in something that you're like, so this keeps coming up for me. This is something that keeps coming up and I don't like it. I thought I cleared it many, lifetimes ago or whatever. You probably did. And now the grids are coming forth as well, clearly to just release. Anytime you're doing any type of energy work, the grids are changing and shifting and being reconstructed together with your energy field, the frequencies, like every aspect. Don't think you have to know about them. You do not. This is an automatic thing that happens. If the grids speak to you and you're like, oh my God, grids, I want to know more about that. They're like, I can't really say too much about them because they're grids. They're just like grids to everything. And we had said it on a podcast, which I think was Friday's podcast. But anyway, if there's something that you don't like, or you're like, oh my God, like this is playing out again, like just bring your hand down, just cut the grid, and then wash it. Okay, so they're saying, and it's so easy. I mean, there'll be times like I will walk into a place and, my hand's just down to the side and I'm aware of it. Sometimes I don't even know. I'm aware of it just doing this quick little doot, and then I notice my hand going like that. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I'll hear some people arguing over there. I'm like, oh, we're cutting the grid for them. Well, how cool is that? So you can cut the grids, and know that, because I know a lot of people will say, oh my God, but they have to approve. No, they're higher subsidy. If you're automatically doing this thing, or you're getting, oh, I got to cut the grid, or I got to hold the space, or whatever it is, that's their higher self reach out to, or their soul, whatever you call it, reaching out to you and saying, listen, they need help. They're entrenched in this space. You should do that. And the minute you cut that grid and wash it, do that whitewash, that starts to shift that. And it's the same thing as holding space. You'll watch and you'll see that thing change, where some people just all of a sudden will completely forget what they were arguing about. It sounds crazy, but
Yep.
It happens. It's the wildest thing to see. So it's this piece of, if something's happening for you, just make the motion, move on, and don't get caught up in that. Like, it's so easy to get entangled into all of that crap again. No, everything's coming up to get out. The grids are shifting and changing. Your energy and your frequency is shifting and changing. So allow that to just go and focus on where you're going. You're not walking backwards. You're walking forward. Keep going there and focus there. Tracy, when you're working on grids, or all the stuff that you work on, is there something that you're doing differently, or that you see? Because I know you've seen them for a long time.
So yeah, this I have seen for years now, how the energy grids were going to change, the magnetics were going to change. So like, thank you for the forecast of what's ahead, so I could kind of wrap my head around it to help navigate forward. And where I'm finding myself now, and this could really be beneficial for a lot of people, is if you are in an undesirable situation that you're like, gosh, I thought I cleared this, I thought I worked on it, and you're back in the middle of it, this is what I do. I know that I'm in the middle of it to transmute it, to neutralize it and dissolve it, zap it, evaporate it. I play with a bunch of words that I love, whitewash it. And sometimes my mind wants to say, oh, how am I going to get out of this? How do I navigate through it? What's my answer? What's my solution? And recently I have to stop myself. And I love the Wonder Woman. I just, really, I do it, or just in my head, the big Wonder Woman stance. And I stand right in the middle of the grid work. And I'm like, no more. We're not doing this bullshit anymore. Nope. Neutralize, dissolve. And then I just let it go. Right. Which I know we've heard that all along the way. And trust me, I'm the first one. I'm impatient. I want an answer. I want a solution. I want to know. But that might be beneficial for someone. And I'm not saying it's always easy, because you do want the way out. You do want the solution. You do want the, what the heck? Why is this presenting itself? But that I'm finding incredibly powerful. And if you can just do it, if you can just have the patience and you can just have the trust, it's happening quicker. And within a couple days, you will be like, hot damn, I did it. It worked. And then that gives you enough, or gives you more to get through the next one. So it's super exciting. And I say this because there is a lot of, and I'm in my world, holy fashizzle every day. I'm like, seriously? We're okay, this, and I can have my little temper tantrums, but there's also that component of those grids. They are neutralizing, they're dissolving, and they're re-alchemizing. Call it what you will. They're dissolving and the new ones are coming in, and they are so freaking cool. I know, Renee, like it's a whole new structure. Old matrix, I'm not even calling it a new matrix. It's just a new woo. So again, back to the fun. I can be like back to the fun, back to the creation.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, it really is a fun time. And the main thing we also want to stress here is to really don't freak out if you say, I've been doing the work, I've been doing the work. This is layers and layers of energy. And remember, it's being supported energetically. Check out the Schumann reports if you're not sure, because we're getting flushed with new light and new energy. And so, in between those periods, when we're integrating it, for that to integrate, remember, it's got to push out everything. Everybody's going into 5D naked. We're not bringing any junk at all. And the reason we're talking about this holding space and why it's so important is because instead of creating moving forward from fear, everything that exists in your life that you didn't like was created from an energetic of fear. And anything that you love that's going well is created from love. And that 0 point, this holding space that we're talking about, is starting from love. And then from here, when we're done this purging, and it will, it's already, we're moving forward. We're purging more and more. And and you can't, nobody's left behind, and you can't mess this up. And so it's just really important to have patience and understand that. Don't get frustrated and don't judge yourself. If something you go, I thought I cleared that and it's back. There's also some energy residue, if that makes sense, or habits or addictions that you had to a certain feeling that is still energetically in your field, but it's the reason you became aware of it again is because it's actually on its way. And I just go, thank you. Job well done. You can go now. I thank it and go. And Renee, I remember you saying, oh, thank you, kiss it and wish it well. And I do. And I thank it and go, oh, you're coming back. Okay, thank you. Nice job. I like pat it on the back and get out of my space. I'm ready to create. So there's many different ways that you can approach this. And any closing statements, ladies? We got a few minutes left.
Trace, go ahead, because I think the key there was like, we're always talking the word love, 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 love. And I know, we were talking about this on the sidebar that sometimes people just can't resonate with that word love. And Tracy, you've got a perfect, way to work with that or work around that.
Yeah, so we'll probably talk about this more because this is a big one. And this came in for me the past couple weeks, is I kind of just had this inkling, knowing it started to rub me wrong, that I noticed that the word love, the most beautiful, all-encompassing, pure word love, was actually, I saw it, people were reacting to it. So, and even me. So you can have this feeling, and that's what we're moving into for sure, is just a knowing and a feeling. So you cannot put a word on it. But I said, okay, for purpose of communication, what can I start using instead? And I was just using golden energy. So even when I'm doing work on myself or with others, I have started to transition to use this word golden energy, because there's really not much there that people can pull in of old programming and traumas and stories. And simultaneously, even when I'm using that words, I'm almost using an energy to neutralize anything within those two words as well. So this we'll definitely can talk about more, because it's super amazing. It's very powerful. And I think it's going to help a lot of people to kind of break barriers of language and understanding.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we're definitely going to jump in on that in our next episode. So, Renee, anything to add there?
Just when you are aware that something doesn't resonate, and we're all sort of using like different words or same words or whatever. And I mean, when I say we all, I mean everybody in this field, everybody in the world. Okay, so it's a matter of recognizing if somebody's saying a word and you're like, oh my God, that's bullshit. Well, just use it, just neutralize that, because it's just a judgment. You don't want the judgment there. And just have your thought be, no, what word does resonate with me? And again, it's exactly what Tracy just said. We're really going back into the feeling. Words are starting to lose their meaning. And I think that's why, Tracy, I'm going to double down on, you with this golden energy. Notice it wasn't, the words you're saying, but the visual, and I think the feeling everybody gets is this energy, this golden light coming down. It's not, you're not going into a word of what does love mean. It's just, there's a nothingness to that, right? So just sort of recognize and realize and come up with your own words. And really, it's really more a feeling, and you'll recognize that now.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
I love that. And again, with the feeling, Does this word make me contract or expand? So if any word, and even when you're watching these, I mean, our podcast is energetic. So these are all energetic transmissions. And so if something comes into you and says, "Oh, that made me feel contracted." Okay, what do you want to replace that with? And so anyway, I'm looking forward to this topic in their next episode. Thank you, ladies. And thank you for listening, everyone, and continue to like and share and subscribe. And I'll see you next episode.